Welcome back to another episode of The Curious Consumer. I'm Nate.
I'm Jenna.
And we are the brains and bronze behind Express Checkout. Mostly bronze. We run a Substack and podcast all around the world of consumer brands, retail, CPG, consumer packaged goods, any consumable product in your pantry, in your medicine cabinet. That's what we talk about. And we're going to talk about it today. I think to get us started, we should talk about Tractor Beverage Company, which is a brand that I feel like a lot of people don't know that they know.
I think
it's a really
into
good
that category.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way to describe it. So Tractor Beverage Company is a beverage company. They do beverages for food service. That is their main line of business. So they partner with fast casual retailers like Chipotle. If you go to college, they're probably in your college campus, in your dining hall. They're at hospitals. They're probably at sporting arenas. They are mostly the beverage behind the scenes. They have branding. They've always had a lot of branding on their machines, but I doubt anybody really looked too hard at that. And this week, they launched their own retail-ready beverage called the Haymaker, which I kind of love that name.
It's such a fun name, and it's really them leaning into what the brand is all about. So as Nate said, they started in food service. So in this case, it's like the fountain drinks are this brand, Tractor Beverage Company. So fountain sodas at these places have definitely had specifically the sodas that are at Chipotle. And I've noticed that they say that they're cane sugar sweetened, and they have
they
more
spell cola with
better
a K.
Yeah, exactly. Love when there's cola with a K. They have more better for you looking branding like on the fountain itself, but they don't sell them in bottles or cans. So most consumers are probably unfamiliar.
Right.
But this brand got all of its business so far from food service, which is a really interesting way to start. Usually the fountain sodas that we're all familiar with are like Coke and Pepsi. So they got their start from being in bottles and cans and then made their way to food service. This brand did the opposite thing. And I think that's really smart because they were only really competing against the big guys. They weren't competing against all of the smaller, buzzy, organic, better for you sodas that are on shelf at retail. They were competing with the fountain soda brands.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's cool about them too is that they've always been sort of this straight from the farm, working with farmers, healthier beverage company that now is so rampant. And it feels like also over the past few years, I've seen Tractor Beverage Company come up a little bit more. And maybe this is because we talk about CPG products and beverages for a living, but I feel like they've been branding themselves more explicitly lately. And now they have a beverage going into retail and it's making real news headlines, which is really cool. And it looks tasty. I love a little sparkling tonic.
It looks so good. Yeah. So it's Haymaker is a apple cider vinegar based sparkling tonic. And I think what's really interesting, it's also launching exclusively at Sprouts, which is cool. And makes a lot of sense, I think, because it's this organic, a little crunchier branding that I think will do really well at Sprouts.
Yeah.
It's also farmer founded and employee owned. But yeah, the drink itself is apple cider vinegar based. And I feel like I've seen a lot of that with there have been kind of kombucha brands that are leaning in that direction and they're more focused on gut health, but this isn't making health claims. It's just this is a yummy traditional beverage that farmers apparently drink. And that's how they're marketing it. And I kind of love that.
No, it's the opposite of what a lot of it lets the consumer sort of put on it what they need to put on it, but they probably have a lot of learnings about marketing to a mass consumer and just to anybody from whatever branding they do on their fountain machines at a Chipotle, at a university dining hall. They probably have a lot of learnings from that. And they've been watching a lot of these brands do it. Obviously Poppi launched as a apple cider vinegar beverage mother, and they've completely sort of pivoted from that. So it's a very interesting move, and I think it also is fun that it's they're leaning into the farmer aspect of it as well.
I also mentioned it's not really focused on being like a non-alc, and I love what you said about
Mm-hmm.
how like this lets the consumer decide how they want to use it. Unlike a lot of other brands that launched these kinds of drinks as like a non-alcoholic alternative, which does lead us actually to the next news item, which is around
Yeah.
non-alcs. So as much as we love that this brand didn't position itself as non-alcs because we think there are a lot of those in existence right now,
Mm-hmm.
there are again some really great non-alcoholic beverage companies, including Proxies, which is a maker of non-alcoholic wine alternatives, and they just
Yes.
acquired the mocktail brand Avec, and so they're going to launch their own canned non-alc drinks.
Look, I think, Avec, in the article, it seems like they acquired a lot of the assets to that company. Avec, one of the founders, Alex Stoneman, he went over to start Stiller's, Ben Stiller's soda. Look, I really liked Avec, and I was sort of sad to see it go, but it's nice that it's getting another life with Proxies. I think I'm curious to see what they do with it, and if they're going to rebrand it, if they're going to have any specific positioning to that product to make it maybe more unique.
Yeah, it also, I mean, that wasn't the only non-alc news this week either. Aplos, which is a spirit non-alc, secured $5 million. So they got some funding. And again, like, it's been interesting to see all of this non-alc news because from our perspective, this is a category that has been kind of, I wouldn't say dwindling, but plateauing. And
Yes.
I know you talked to Victoria from Dry Atlas about this.
I did, because one of the things in the Aplos press release in the story was that obviously they're in a couple thousand doors. They're in like 2,000 retail doors, but they're in 1,000 on-prem locations. So that means at restaurants, at bars, at hotels. Restaurants and bars is what on-prem really means, on premise. And I asked her, I was like, well, what does she think about this space? So Victoria runs Dry Atlas, which is a resource for non-alcoholic beverage enthusiasts, is what it says on its Substack. And it's a great resource if you're curious about the NA space. Let me pull up her quote right here, that these non-alc founders have poured a lot of energy into retail and direct to consumer, but a lot of them don't really have the marketing muscle to drive those retail sell-through or to lift average order value on direct to consumer to offset any of the shipping costs. Because Aplos and a lot of the NA brands, they're not always in cans, and even if they are in cans, liquid is heavy to ship, and heavy means expensive. So shifting to on-prem does a couple things. One, it's really cheap and easy to drive trial. It's in a location and a placement where it's natural to drink that thing, and you have somebody sort of educating you on the product a little bit more than like if you're just in a retail store, you're gonna be like, oh, this is just overpriced juice. But if you have a bartender or a NA sommelier potentially just telling you about the product and pairing it with the right meals, I think it could really help the category actually get a little bit more legs underneath it and give it a little bit more validation to the consumer. Because I think right now the NA space is in a bit of a funky place. Like NA beer, crushing it. I think that's because it's really easy to brew a beer and then remove the alcohol. Like that has been proved. Athletic is doing really well. Beero, I think, is already over an 8-figure business. Like they're growing a lot. And the NA beer space is really easy to, one, grasp what you're drinking from a consumer perspective, but also to produce a product that's good and a very one-to-one match. Like most of these NA beers, pretty good or great, especially Athletic, which is like one of the best ones. I think with a lot of the other products, it's just not so clear the use case for consumers. And I feel like it was thrust upon the market probably too fast. Like, even if you go to a bar, you see a couple brands, you see Pathfinder, you see Seed Lip. And I think it needed more time to sort of grow and mature within the bar and restaurant scene to give it more validation. And to also like for people to understand the value to them beyond just like, okay, this is non-alc. Because like a lot of good non-alc stuff is like Diet Coke.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, because like a spirit requires some crafting usually, like very few people
Mm-hmm.
are, drinking their spirit on the rocks. It's not like a drinking it out of a can experience in the same way that athletic brewing is, which the
Right.
format is like really understandable. It would take a lot, I think. I mean, I actually don't really even know the history of how like alcoholic spirits really started making their way into the home, but I would imagine that they took off via on-prem and
Yeah.
people trying them in a restaurant and then being like, oh, I wonder if I could be an amateur bartender at home. And the same
Right.
thing does need to apply to non-alc because these are spirits. They're not drinkable alone typically. So
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think this makes a lot of sense that this is kind of where non-alc is shifting. It also makes sense that a brand or like Proxies would want to work with a brand like Avec because again,
Right.
like a canned drink is just a more obvious use case. And I think
Right.
they will do really well with that. But really, yeah, interesting point on how certain like subcategories within this category just like make more sense. And I actually, this
Right.
is like such an easy transition to the next news item because we were saying that this is pretty analogous actually to what we're seeing in plant-based, which is that
Yes.
plant-based is as a whole category is struggling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of data on plant-based brands in the US market just not doing well in the past few years. We know this from Beyond Meat's stock plummeting. Meaty foods had some crash and burns, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
potential resurgence, but we're still tracking on that. And yet there's one subcategory within plant-based that seems to be at least relatively steady, and that is plant-based milk. So Danone, oh my God, Danone,
Danone?
why am I
I'm gonna say both work.
Danone,
I say
which
both.
owns Silk. I
Yes.
can say the word Silk.
You can say the word silk. That's great.
Which owns the brand Silk, is launching a high protein version of soy milk. And this is really interesting because, again, like plant-based milk seem to be doing really well. And plant-based milk seems to be doing well by comparison to the rest of plant-based.
Yes.
But we haven't seen a ton of new innovation in plant-based because the category is struggling. So this was a headline that felt like it came out of nowhere, even though there's high protein is like in every other category.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense because
So much sense.
apparently only fewer than 1% of protein-focused innovations have been occurring within plant-based drinks. And so there's a white space because consumers are still picking up their oat milk. They are still picking up their almond and soy milk, even though the plant-based category as a whole is not doing so well. And so this is an opportunity to match the trend of high protein to a subcategory that does seem to be pretty steady. So 13 grams of protein in a plant-based milk, I actually think has some potential to do pretty well.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, I was in Whole Foods the other day, and there's a whole plant-based milk refrigerated case for just for that category. So it's like clear that and then the plant-based cheese is like much smaller than the plant-based meat's even smaller than that. I think also plant-based milks have done well. One thing's to like Oatly. I think Oatly did
Oatly.
such a good job.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's been soy milks like that and almond milks around forever. Like, but Oatly has done like the most for that category. I think it's similar to what Athletic did for NA beer. Like it just the product market fit just came together so nicely, and it's partially because of use case in coffee shops. It's a habitual product. Like there's a lot of reasons that it just worked well. And yeah, there should be more proteinified plant-based milks on the market. And there's a few, but not like this one feels specifically unique. I think one because it's a higher amount than I've seen on other. It's usually like I've seen like 8 grams or something like that, but this is like very clear. It's clear who they're trying to target with this one.
It's also a lot higher than dairy, and I feel like
Yes.
that's going to be a really interesting competitor because the whole thesis around plant-based now is it needs to be as good or better than dairy to ever, or
Correct.
then it's like whatever animal-based counterpart to actually succeed. And in this case, it's competing with just normal milk. And I do think actually like these macros will probably stack up to be even better. So it will be interesting to kind of test that thesis that so many plant-based brands have been saying of like, if we're ever able to achieve one, like taste and macro or like nutritional parity and price parity, will
Right.
we be able to like actually see success? And I think this will be a really interesting test of that. I don't know if we can say taste parity here, but I also don't think people really love the taste of normal milk that much. So that's also why alt milk kind of had
Right.
a leg up, I would say.
Yeah.
But
I
so we'll
like
see.
milk.
I'm excited because
Excited.
I try to be like mostly plant-based, and so um I am always being asked like, how do you get enough protein in your diet? And here's another thing I can use to be like, well, did you know? This has
Right.
more.
We'll see how it goes. Let's move on to our next news story, Oddity. So Oddity is the parent company of Il Maquillage and the skin and hair supplement brand Spoiled Child. They just launched Methodique. Is that how you pronounce it?
I guess it's like
Method
methodic.
IQ. Oh,
I think it's like methodic, but with an IQ instead of IC. Yeah.
okay. Methodic. People don't sue me. They're offering prescription over-the-counter medical grade skincare products for
Hmm.
everything from acne to hyperpigmentation and eczema. It's basically a new platform to directly compete with Hims and Hers in $100 billion plus medical skincare market. Very interesting, but kind of makes sense for this company to go this route.
Yeah, and it's not just that they're launching like the line of over-the-counter medical grade skincare products, but also the telehealth platform that goes with
Yes.
it to offer like prescription skincare products. So all of those things are making these products that were otherwise not very accessible a lot more accessible. And the platform slash company Hims has done an incredible job of really launching this category. I would say like this mix
Yeah.
between um, actual products and a platform.
Right.
And it needed some competitors, honestly. So I'm excited to see a competitor, and I'm excited to see this as just. I said in the newsletter that we're just seeing such like a stratification in skincare of either people leaning fully into this like all natural, like I'm only going to put beef tallow on my face
Right.
movement, or fully science-based medical grade skincare, which is what this
Yeah.
is. And these two camps, I think we're going to start seeing them get even more polarized, and we'll need
Right.
more competitors in each. So this will be a really interesting brand for the more like science-based. And I also mentioned, I think that the brands that kind of sit in the middle that aren't like fully natural or fully medical grade will probably actually start to struggle to capture customers.
I don't know. I actually kind of think that this direction will actually be better for brands like a La Roche-Posay or newer brands like an Experiment or Prequel, where there's a lot of science and derm backing to it. It's like the exact opposite of all the tallow stuff and all the clean beauty that's just like probably not as effective. But I do think you're right that there'll be this like really strong bifurcation where people are like, if I can't pronounce it, I'm not using it, even though sometimes that word you can't pronounce is what you're using. They are just using a plain English term. Um,
Right.
and then this more scientific and more derm backed stuff. And like I feel like we're seeing that also just in the discourse online, where there's the very crunchy people who are like, screw this, it's got a X, Y, and Z in it, and they're just saying the most uneducated thing you could possibly imagine. And then there's just like a very educated person being like, here is why this 30% glycerin hydrating serum is great for you, and why you should be using it with this other product. I actually think the brands that are even in the middle of that will actually probably have a hard time, where they're not quite science backed in any way or derm backed, but they're also not quite super clean ingredients. I think I would even narrow it a little bit more. I think you're right, but I would narrow that even more. Like I think we're going to go more of the extremes almost.
Mhm.
But like I love a brand like a Prequel or Experiment where it's having a little bit more fun with the science nature of it. It's
Mhm.
not too stuffy. It's not too prestige either, which I
Yes.
think like a La Roche-Posay or some of the more, even some of the more like upscale um brands, like a prequel and an experiment bring somebody into the fold who maybe doesn't want quite the clean beauty stuff or is coming from that side, but is just completely put off by like the uber medical stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Like
interesting.
you can be science backed and like medical grade and not look clinical or sterile.
Yes.
And that's how brands like Experiment are doing an incredible job of that. And the other thing is Experiment's actual messaging is inclusive. Like it's not just like
Yes.
this is what this is called, and if you don't understand it, you don't understand it. They're like, well,
Right.
actually, let's just educate consumers.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think the more like natural side of things has done really well is they've done a really good job of educating consumers on why products like whether you agree with it or not, like beef tallow could be good for your skin. And I think that like the science brands actually could learn a thing or two from making their ingredients feel more accessible to consumers through like more educational messaging.
Yeah. It's it's so funny because it's like it's fear mongering on either side, both
Oh,
for good and for
totally.
bad, and you kind of need to, yeah, you need to play the game a little bit on both
You do.
sides. Like you're so right about like a beef tallow whatever or like a super clean beauty or skincare company. They are really good at educating. Whether it's accurate or not is besides the point.
Who are we to say?
But they're doing they're doing that. Oh
Yes.
yeah, that's
And
it.
they're
It
doing it really
honestly,
accessibly and with using like ambassadors who look like people that are using the like it's
right,
they're not like a stuffy scientist or whatever it might be. But I
right.
think
They're not in the high castle about X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
They're like, okay, we'll actually open up our brains to you in a way that's accessible.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Hmm.
clean beauty is having a moment. And one of the
Oh yeah,
people at the or one of the brands at the forefront of the clean beauty movement is Credo Beauty. Um, Credo is a retailer. They have their own brand.
yeah,
And they launched as like the clean beauty and skincare destination. Um, so that's kind of how they got all of their brand loyalists. Like they really do have a loyal following. I know there are a lot of people who will only shop at Credo for their beauty, skincare, hair care products. So they just did something really smart and they launched something called Credo Qualified, which is a certification program not for brands, but for contract manufacturers. So for those who don't know, contract manufacturers, usually in food and bev, we call them co-mans. It seems in beauty, they call them CMs. Same thing. But they
just a
are
way to shorten it.
basically or brands don't typically manufacture their own products.
No,
They often go to a contract, they contract a manufacturer. And these are the people producing the products. And Credo is saying that a lot of the brands that either are already on their shelves or prospective brands who want to be on their shelves have been asking them like who should I go to manufacture my product because they can't tell. They don't know who is legitimate, who's actually going to like source the ingredients in the right way, who has sustainable manufacturing processes. And so Credo decided to launch the certification for contract manufacturers that will scout out kind of like a list, essentially, of approved Credo qualified manufacturers so that brands know who to go to manufacture their products. And they're already known for having like really strict requirements for their brands. This is interesting because, again, it's going beyond the brand level and it's this like values-based certification for the manufacturing side.
I think it's very interesting. It kind of feels reminiscent of like a little bit of like earlier Whole Foods vibes where you can really only be in there if you have the certain qualifications. And I think something else we talked about that we put in the newsletter was the fact that also like this doesn't exist much in the food and beverage space yet. I thought that was a really
It
interesting
doesn't.
point. No,
Yeah, I did some research on this because I was like, certainly it exists in food and beverage,
right,
and it doesn't. There are tons of certifications that brands can get, like organic, non-GMO,
right,
fair trade, B Corp, but those are all at the brand level. They're not manufacturer level certifications. And it almost makes me a little angry because these certifications cost a lot of money, and it always falls on the brand
Right.
to get them. And I kind of wish that more of that cost fell on the manufacturers, and it would just be so much easier for brands to find manufacturers that are values aligned as
Right.
opposed to just kind of like hoping. And I don't know. It's just interesting.
I mean, for food and bev, probably not so much for beauty and skincare, but the food and bev contract manufacturing world is just like so old school. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff is still done on pen and paper. So it's like, okay. I mean, I 100% agree. I just think for our audience, if they have no idea what's going on in the food manufacturing world, it's very old school still.
Very.
It's very old school, and it's hard. But I think it's really interesting for Credo, and I think it's a good step. I think it's also a good, like, I like that a retailer is just sort of exposing consumers also to a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff.
Yes.
Which I think is, look, we're called the curious consumer for a reason. Our thesis is that people want to learn a little bit more about this. And one of the ways you learn more is it's not just the marketing and like why something's branded. It's like why and how is something made? It's people should be curious about where their products are coming from. They don't necessarily need to know the factory name or the zip code or whatever. But like it's good that Credo is putting some onus on the manufacturers to be like, you're good. And then it drums up more business for them, and it's all the positive cycle. But it's really cool that they're leaning into this more behind the scenes look at these brands. Because clearly people are also seeking it.
Definitely. I mean, it sounds like it's more the brands that are seeking it right now. But I think that's just because consumers don't know that brands don't produce their own products. And again, like exactly what you said, I think that's like a huge step in itself. That we are now putting the onus on manufacturers for these. And of course, like Credo is going to benefit from this too. Certifications cost money and they will make money from it. But it seems like it will be for the greater good of brands and consumers alike. So pretty cool. And hopefully it will help combat greenwashing. That's one of the most exciting pieces.
I like that call out a lot. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Because it feels like something that as a society that makes products, we've sort of stopped talking about a lot, partially because a lot of consumers just don't purchase things because they're sustainable. Like it's starting to change, but it's been diminishing. And I really think something about greenwashing or something about just like more sustainable practices within the consumer brand world. I unfortunately think it should just be a staple that if you're launching a brand or operating a retailer or something, like the onus, unfortunately, I think needs to be on them a little bit more right now to produce more sustainably, to package more sustainably, whatever it is, even if it's a minor thing. And Credo sort of trying to combat greenwashing side of thing, the lying about being sustainable, I think is really good. Maybe it could backfire. Maybe it'll make a brand look bad. But like, if they're lying about it's fine if you're not. Most brands are not sustainable. Most of the stuff is just not. It's just not how it works. But don't say you are when you're not. That's the bad part. Lying.
Hot take. Lying is bad.
Hot take. Yeah, but I'm excited to see where this goes, and should go into Credo again. I haven't been in a while. I like the Credos.
Very pleasant shopping experience.
Great for sample size of products. They're sort of like Trader Joe's, where they'll sort of let you try anything. You can walk away with a little sample size. They'll like make it for you. It's really fun. Yeah. You
can try anything at Trader Joe's?
Wait, you didn't know this? Yeah.
That was my takeaway.
No, if you go to Trader Joe's and you're like, I want to try these crackers, they'll just open it for you and let you try it.
Do the people know this?
No, I don't think so.
I have never known. I'm like, yeah, you can get
y'all have to listen to the Trader Joe's podcast. I'm pretty sure I learned this from the Trader Joe's podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
No, of course they've samples. You can try anything in there. They'll just open it for you. They make plenty.
That's so news to me. Wow.
Wow. That's shocking. But yes, Trader Joe's. Our next story, also kind of in skincare and beauty and
Body care.
sense. Body care? What's in the name? Bath and Body Works. Coming to Amazon.
Coming to Amazon near you.
I mean, obviously they've probably been sold on Amazon, but not by Bath and Body Works. Which is one of the reasons why they're launching on Amazon. Also because their stock isn't doing so well, the business sort of needs a revamp, and the new CEO is testing a few things out, including launching Bath and Body Works on Amazon, which is very fun.
It is fun. It's interesting that body care and fragrance are two categories that are like doing so well across the board right now. Like literally are what's keeping Target beauty section alive. And yet this company that has been known for those two things for a very long time is struggling. But yeah, they referred to, there was a lot of reselling going on, as Nate mentioned, on Amazon already. They call that gray market sales. So basically people were buying Bath and Body Works products and selling them on Amazon anyway. Amazon is trying to help beauty brands combat this by now launching something called the Amazon Premium Beauty Store, which is like specifically so that like certified beauty brands, verified skincare beauty brands can exist on Amazon and not be resold. So that will be interesting to see if like that actually does take off, because even like people can still compete on price. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think especially with like Bath and Body Care and Works, like I know that my wife won't buy skincare on Amazon because of the fear of like, what if I get something that's not what it says it is, whether it's been used, whether it's just not the right product on the inside. Like, I think the verified, especially for beauty and skincare, the verified aspect and the verified program is really smart. Both from like just protecting your brand, but also protecting your brand from people getting products that say they're your brand and are not the right products or have a bad chemical in it or whatever the situation is that makes the consumer not happy with you. And it's not going to be on Amazon. It's going to be on you, the brand. And this has been an issue with Amazon for a long time, probably with any third-party marketplace. And I'm sure Target and Walmart and other third-party marketplaces that are launching will do what Amazon is doing. But like Nike a few years ago, pre-pandemic, removed most of their products from Amazon because they're like, our brand is not doing well. But now they're coming back because there's been so many of these third-party sellers in this gray market that we've been talking about. So it's been hurting their brand recognition. They're like, okay, well, we actually should be on here because everybody shops on Amazon. Right. No matter how much we all complain about the UI or fake deals or whatever, everybody's shopping on Amazon. I go out into my lobby right now in my building. It's just Amazon packages. Just Amazon packages. Because it's convenient, it's cheap, and it's all right there. So might as well embrace it. And I think for a lot of brands, it's they need to be on Amazon to take control of their brand. You know, they might not get the first party data, they might not get what they want out of it, but they're going to get eyeballs, they're going to get sales, and you should protect your brand because there's people clearly searching for it on there.
Yeah. I think the question will be like, is this enough for Bath and Body Works? And I don't think so, which is, again, really crazy because it is in a category that's doing really well. I mean, just look at Touchland, which is a hand sanitizer brand that all they did is it's just a different format. It's like the skinny spray bottle, as opposed to what Bath and Body Works was doing. But Bath and Body Works like started the weird sense of hand sanitizer.
Oh my God. I remember the viral, before like viral was even a thing, just like popular in my school, Bath and Body Works hand sanitizers on the keychains with the little gummy. They still make those with the little poppers on the inside.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
All the cool girls. It was like, you like knew when they came in because, or you would like, they like take it out of their little pencil case and then the whole room smells like candy apple or whatever. And like, everyone's like, oh, the cool girl has her Bath and Body Works.
Exactly. And look, they're still going viral for products. They had a I think it was a laundry detergent or like laundry like scent bead line within the past year, within 2025, that was going viral on TikTok. So like they can still win. One, they need to continue to make like fun viral products, but this could be great for them, honestly. But I think it's going to be great for them if they kind of still come out with viral products. I think that's probably going to be the thing, because there's so many other bath and body care brands out there that have really good scents, that have really good branding, that are comparable on price, that have a lot of funding, like whatever it is. There are a lot of products in this category now. Everything from hand sanitizers to sexy laundry detergents to lotions to candles to hand soaps to foaming hand soaps. Hell, even Trader Joe's has like viral foaming hand soaps that you can get that either are the same as Bath and Body Works or smell similar. So
yeah, I think
might be
like where they went wrong, and something I think about with brands generally, is if you're going to try and be a decades-long popular brand, you either need to evolve your product set with your consumers, as their consumers like me who had hand sanitizer when I was 13, I'm getting older, make products for me that are like nostalgic, but maybe more for someone in their late 20s, whatever. Or you need to evolve your marketing to continue to match the same customer base. So if they don't want to evolve with their products, they need to change their marketing to continue to somehow reach the 14-year-olds that they were trying to reach before.
Yes.
And they haven't really done either. So I think like if they are going to succeed on Amazon, they don't necessarily need to come out with viral products, but I want them to tap back into like me, like tell me that like give me a reason to like nostalgically repurchase a hand sanitizer or something.
Exactly.
There needs to be like some kind of messaging evolution with their previous customers if they're not going to evolve their product set.
Yeah. They also had the issue of they were like locked to a mall, and only now they're sort of escaping the mall, which is still mostly dying. Obviously there's some popular malls out there, but there's like
malls are not
two of those in the country. They didn't escape the mall fast enough, really. Like I think there would I think they could see a resurgence, especially as like nostalgia baiting, and nostalgia in general is just such a thing with consumers, that people are purchasing things based off just pure nostalgia, and like they could lean into that a little bit, especially now that a lot of their customer base, like us, have more disposable income now and are shopping, and they could see some success from this. I'm curious. I think they need to maybe elevate some of their products like a tad, sort of get out of that mall vibe. But
yeah, well, it'll be interesting. But they're a fun brand to talk about. I just kind of like, you forget about them, and then and then you're like, oh, you're still there. That's crazy.
Still there.
Still there.
All right, let's do our last story. Target and ChatGPT. So they're partnering, just like ChatGPT and every other retailer apparently, to have the Target app within ChatGPT. So the beta is launching this week, the week we're recording, and it's similar to the Shopify ChatGPT partnership that we talked about the other week, where you can shop Target within a ChatGPT window. And I had this conversation with somebody recently. We were talking about like what are the trends we're sort of going to start seeing. They're like, shopping on a website is dead. We're all going to be using ChatGPT or some AI window. And I'm like, part of me is like, that sounds convenient. Part of me is like, where's the fun in that? So we're just going to be buying a bunch of crap we don't need because some AI is telling us to?
I mean, couldn't you kind of say that's like, I feel like that's almost how people used to view Amazon, or like, oh, we don't even have to go to the brand's website. We're just going to find it all on Amazon. Like that takes all the fun out of it. Like this is it's just a new marketplace.
Marketplace of marketplaces.
It's a marketplace of marketplaces, which is getting too meta for any of us.
Which is essentially a department store, and department stores aren't doing so hot, so we'll see.
Some version of that, I guess you could say. But yeah, I mean, it takes the fun out of discovery.
Yeah.
I would say, because it's telling you what to get, basically, but a
Right.
lot of people want that. And it's obviously a very smart move for Target. I think if all
Yeah.
of your competitors are being introduced into or integrated into this platform in some way, it'd be pretty silly of you to just kind of sit back and let it happen. I think what will be interesting is like how the brands respond to this. We've been talking a lot in our newsletter about GEO or AEO. People call it both things, which is generative engine optimization, or I guess artificial, like AI
I
engine
haven't heard
optimization.
AEO. I only know
I
GEO.
have I have heard AEO. Um, and it's basically brands trying to get themselves to the top of a search result within ChatGPT, as opposed to the top of a search result on Google, which is SEO, or search engine
Okay.
optimization. Um, so it'll definitely be interesting, like as these retailers get integrated into the platform, are they going to be pouring all of their budget into GEO for their private label? Like, will Target brand things just immediately surface to the top? Or
Huh.
is this kind of more like anyone's game? I don't know. And I don't know if anyone knows.
I mean, we can assume that's probably gonna happen.
Mhm.
I just hypothetically sounds like something that could happen. And then like I think a whole issue with just like advertising within AI chat will also like I think become a thing at some point.
Oh yeah.
Which is then it's just gonna be like the rest of the internet, and it's like, okay, great. So we just come full circle again. I think it's a very interesting development. I want to test it out. We tried to test it out before we started recording, and it didn't seem
It doesn't look
ready.
like it's live. Yeah.
I think the Shopify one is live based off of a tweet I saw Harley, the president of Shopify, post last week. I want to try it. I want to see what it's like currently, if it's like any better. Um, but I guess with this is like probably a lot of people are going to be using it, but we'll probably see a pivot to a lot more curation, and thoughtful recommendations of products outside of like the TikTok shop recommendation, which is just pure non noise. I don't know. Online shopping is going to change over the next few years, and it's going to be really interesting to see that pivot because there's a huge economy just built off of individual websites. Shopify. That's what Shopify is. That's what like all the e-commerce space is. And if a lot of traffic is shifting over to AI, to ChatGPT and Anthropic and all these other ones, like what does that mean for that ecosystem? And I I don't know. I prefer physical retail these days. The online stuff is overwhelming to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
I
see
mean,
what
like
happens.
anything, I think the more advanced these technologies get, it will kind of push people either in the direction of like, this is too much for me, I'm going to go back to brick and mortar, or this is the only way I'll shop now. So I don't think you're alone in feeling overwhelmed by that. But at the same time, I do think that this is the future of shopping, and brands who
Yeah.
aren't starting to plan for this are probably a little bit behind already. I mean, imagine if you are like pitching to Target right now to get your product on the shelves at Target, and you're able to add like, and this is my plan for how to sell within ChatGPT. Like, that's a winner. Do that if you're a
Yeah.
brand. Have a plan for GEO, because I think that'll be a huge piece of how
Yeah.
retailers look at the brands that are pitching to them now, because they want you to sell off their digital shelves just as much as they want you to sell off their physical shelves. So.
It's overwhelming, man. Um Speaking of curation and shopping, we do have some gift guides out.
They
Which
were
are
so fun
great.
to make.
Jenna did a really Jenna wrote them. I
And you found
helped.
a lot of the products. You
Thank
found almost all
you.
of the products.
I found them. I love product.
Nate loves products. I love words. And therefore,
We're a great match.
we're a
So
team.
go check those out. They're under the gift guides tab on our Substack at expresscheckout.co. You should also subscribe to our Substack if you haven't already. You should subscribe to this podcast. You should share this podcast and probably review it as well. You can give us 5 stars if you'd like. We'll give you 5 stars back.
Yes.
You're welcome.
I'll text you 5 stars.
We will text you 5 stars if we happen to know you. You can find us on Instagram, which we have recently crossed 17,000 followers.
Crazy.
And you'll catch us on The Curious Consumer next week as well.
Yeah, you will.
Have a great week, y'all. Bye.